want to learn about a really well priced, really well sorted, hardcore hardtail that looks absolutely sick from an old man, heavy breathing, into a full face helmet. Well, carry on watching. Hey up, my name's Guy Kestevan the Testaman, and today the bike I'm riding is Cube's Reaction TM Pro. Alloy affordable hardcore hardtail. So, let's talk about the details, talk about the ride, and sum up the pros and cons. Or in other words, let's do another live ride bike review. So let's address the chin guard in the room straight away. I'm wearing a full face helmet, not because I'm feeling especially rad, even though this hardtail is definitely equipped to handle it, but because if I was running chest cam on a hardtail, there'd be more bounce with this footage than a Pamela Anderson Baywatch scene. So this is because a hardtail obviously takes more of a beating through the back end than a full suspension bike. And although this bike does have a really good spec for 1,500 quid, that is the territory where you get into voodoo, Kanzo, Caliber boss nut scenes. So first of all, you've got to say standard hardtail kind of full sauce disclaimer. Hardtails aren't as fast over rough terrain unless you're very, very skilled. Take a bit more effort, beat you up a bit more, but a lot less maintenance, a lot less worry about setting shocks up, that kind of thing. Plus, lighter than a full suspension bike. It's about 1.5 kilos lighter than a Kanzo, this bike. 14.6 kilos with pedals, if you're counting. Sorry, without pedals. You also get much better quality componentry on a hardtail than you do on a full suspension bike for the same money. But yeah, hardtail versus full sus, and always going to be a question and always going to be a decision at this price point. But it's not just the supermarket brands, Halfords brands that offer that kind of deal. Cube do some really good value full sus bikes as well. But anyway, with that out of the way, let's have a quick look at the details, because there's some really nice work being done on this Cube. So first thing we have to say is this is just a great looking bike. You've got that raw metal alloy frame, a nice bit of shape in there on the down tube, bottle cage mount there, accessory mount there. Only comes with a 2.4. There's room for a 2.6 in there, and that's really significant when you compare it to something like Merida's Big Trail, which is 2.4 only, because you've got no bridges in there, relatively skinny seat stays, really short back end. We'll talk about geometry while we're riding it, but it just looks belting. And that graphic detail there, obviously can't see it because it's daylight, but that's reflective as well. So if you're, on the street out at night, just riding around, it's a really nice safety feature, but it's really subtle. Cube branding, pretty subtle, and then that big colour pop of that red Zocchi 140mm Z2 fork on the front just looks absolutely bob on. And then they've matched that with these really neat little grips. You've got a little sort of flange on both ends there just to centre your hands on the grip, and again you've got a bit of rib, you've got a bit of square in there. There's a lot of really nice detailing, even on the sort of own brand. It's Newman, Cube's own brand really. So you've got a bar stem, and then from Newman it's Newman wheels as well, 30mm internal, eyeletted rims. They should be plenty tough, and that all builds into the fact that this bike has a 20 kilo higher weight limit for rider and equipment than most other mountain bikes being sold today. 140k Cube are happy with on this bike, whereas most brands are topping out at about 120k.
But there's other nice details, right? You know, you've got the main bottle cage mount there. You've got an accessory mount under there for, you know, tool wrap, whatever. You've got, like I say, plenty of mud clearance in there, 2.6, even though it's only got a 2.4 tyre in there at the moment, you've got 2.6 space there. So again, you fit much bigger rubber if you do find it a bit uncomfortable at rear. Got a neat little rear entry there for the cable, for the dropper, and then both pop back in there. It's a bit awkward when you're running it in the UK because you've got to swing the rear brake out round that way to stop it rubbing on the head tube, so it's a bit convoluted under the top tube there, but you know, you don't have to do that. I just did it to fit. And yeah, you know, short head tube, short seat tube on this large as well, 420mm. And then the kit as well, zero complaints. I mean, Z2 is a great fork up front. It's basically a Fox 34 Rhythm with a slightly different casting on the lower end, and I don't even know what the differences are between the sweep damper and the rail damper. I don't think it's much. Or is it the grip? Anyway, rail sweep, whatever. It's a simple damper with full compression from wide open to lock out on it. The only thing I would say is over time, watch out for those forks. They do have steel bushings in there, and they can get a bit corroded and pitted over time compared to a synthetic bushing. But you've got Dior brakes. Had a bit of a pig bleeding these, you know, typical Shimano. When I swapped the levers, because it came Euro spec, and obviously we run brakes of right hand front here, so bit of a you know, just had to let it sit with the lever pulled in, then pop some fluid in the top, and that sorted it out eventually. But that's not uncommon with Shimano. But on the bright side, super, you know, super reliable once you've done that, and you've got a big old rotor on the front, and they're the 4-pot version as well, so 4-pot front, 4-pot rear, 180, 200mm front rotor. So even though they aren't the most powerful brakes in the world, naturally, you've got that extra hit of power from that bigger rotor up front. You've got a 170mm stroke dropper post there, you've got a kind of modern snub nose saddle, and then you've got Dior drivetrain. So chainset, rear mech, cassette, all Shimano Dior. Really just super dependable, light action. It's 12 speed as well. The only little skimp on there, it's a KMC chain, which doesn't mean the shifting's as good as it could be, but very, very durable. So you're losing a bit on shift quality, but gaining a lot in terms of durability compared to a Shimano chain. And also, that's a non-Shimano bottom bracket there as well, so that might not last as long as you might hope. But then you got steel chainring on there, so that's going to last well. But just watch out for that bottom bracket; might wear a bit quicker than you're expecting. So you know, but it's, you know, it's a thread in, it's not press fit or anything, so that's not going to migrate back into the bike. Just keep an eye out for that. Oh, the other feature I haven't talked about, although obviously Shimano rear mech isn't making use of it, it's a UDH rear hanger as well. So if you wanted to upgrade to the latest SRAM at some point, zero issues there. But I think what really speaks to the intent of this bike is the front tyre they've spec'd on it. So you've got Maxxis Assegai, you know, the Greg Minnaar signature tyre, the hallmark of the hyper-aggressive rider. And not only is it the Assegai tread, but it's in max grip compound with Exo Plus protection, which is, you know, the more... Exo's the standard, Exo Plus, it's not the toughest, but it's significantly tougher. It's a weightier tyre, and that's a proper power move, having that tyre on the front. Not a speed move, certainly when you're pedalling along, but a real power move in terms of grip and control. And then on the back, again, 2.4, dissector, Troy Brosnan tyre, if we're going to allot everything to their respected World Cup riders, but more open tread, faster roll. But again, still the 3C Max Terra compound, so still top-end tyre. And again, Exo Plus protection, so a little bit more meat in the carcass to protect that unsprung back end when you're battering into things. So, that's how the bike's put together. That's what it put together with. Now, the really important thing is how it rides and how that compares to other bikes in its category. So, let's jump on the trails and get started on that. So, you've seen the details of this Silver Dream machine, but how does it ride? Well, first off,
that front end equipment is backed up by a head angle that's every bit as aggressive as that 140mm Mazzocchi fork. 65 degrees, measured, so plenty of stability in the steeps. Big rotor on that Shimano brake if you need to slow it down. And then that Assegai tyre for all the grip in the world. Plus, that 140mm fork is actually really, really controlled. Really open, easy breathing fork. Not the most sophisticated over a long rocky downhill, but then it's kind of immaterial on this bike because you're coping with the back end kicking around anyway. And while the Newman bar is fairly low, it's obviously something you can change if you like a higher stack, because the head tube's short as well at 100mm. But yeah, comes to tight, twisty and steep, this Cube Reaction Pro TM is on the money. And that TM Pro is important, by the way, because TM is the more rad of the Reaction models, and the Pro means this is the spendy one with the Mazzocchi, not a Suntour fork like you get on the standard Reaction TM, which is $10.99, but I think the upsell is definitely worth it to this spec. I've only just started doing this climb, and frankly it's an absolute stinker in many ways, and also, you know, hardtail, because the back end's bouncing up and down, it's not consistent in terms of grip, so climbing can be harder. But one bit of geometry that you might have been a bit upset by if you read the Cube stats is that the seat angle is officially 73.5 degrees, when actually I did it, mate.
Nice.
Yeah, good show for the Cube.
Yeah.
And actually, it's that little kink in the seat tube I showed you on the talk round, that's the angle they're measuring. So the actual effective seat angle with a 745mm seat height, which is what I run, is 75.5. So, well, I might have only been hovering my little Botox above the saddle on that climb. If you do sit in, it's steep enough to give a decently aggressive climbing angle. But the real kind of signature geo situation with this Cube is the length of it. Classic Stainburn iconic moment. And what I mean by that is that there's not actually, in contemporary terms, a lot of length in this Pro. This large 462mm reach, which wouldn't be so bad if the XL, which has a 482mm reach, had a similarly short seat tube, because this is 420mm, so plenty of room for that 170mm post. But on the XL seat post, whoop, nice work, jockey. Then, where was I? 470mm on the XL, which means you're really restricted then on dropper height. So while Cube say it's long, low and slack, it's actually just slack and low, because the BB drop is 60mm, which ain't squatch, but it's pretty slammed. Brian Stockton and his Canyon Spectral will now demonstrate the effectiveness of a full suspension bike over a hardtail. even if he is just chilling without pads on, I'm working hard here. And again, while that geometry's good, to get the knee into that top tube, shorter wheelbase, mega short rear end, 427mm, means that even with grippish front tyres, that back end sliding around a lot, chain skip there, whee! I actually hit that really nicely, so I'm more in touch than I expected to be. But now we hit the boulder section, by the fact that rear wheel can move on Ryan's and I have to manually, whoa, lift or catch a pedal like that. Whoa. Yeah, I mean, obviously there are people who can ride hardtail really well, and I'm really out of practice, but it's just not wiping my ass in the same way as a full suspension bike would, even if I manage not to wipe out. And it's not just on the descents either. It's up here on Sunday and full run, it's really blowing up my legs by the bottom, and even the bike was shaking loose. You know, saddle nearly fell off and stuff. So just a load more vibration and force going through bike and rider without rear suspension. In terms of keeping the front wheel where it's supposed to be, and tackling some chunky terrain, this is right up on the upper level of hardtails. And while it's kicking around quite a lot with the 2.4 in the back, remember you've got room for a 2.6, even though it's a 29er, which is relatively uncommon these days. And you could even go bigger if you wanted to mullet it, though that's probably upsetting all sorts of cube regulations, so I didn't say that. Oh, might be sick. And obviously, putting a larger rear tyre in won't just help with descending, it'll also give you a bit more grip and adhesion on the climbs with the lower pressure, because these Newman wheels are wide enough to take it. But having said that, it's actually a really tidy technical climber. That short back end keeps things nice and tight. It's low without tapping the pedals too much. Like I say, it's lighter and livelier than a full suspension bike you get at this price by a long way. So if you're into more old school techie stuff and you're used to older, shorter geo, then the Cube's going to really stand out. Plus, obvious comparison is that Merida Big Trail, but for a similar spec, that bike's 500 quid more at retail price. So basically 25% more, which is a lot, especially when there's nothing immediately obvious to replace on this bike at all. It's got everything you need straight out of the shop, and again, comes from a shop, not online, so you've got that extra servicing and support backup. Right, let's put that technical climbing claim money where the mouth is. Yeah, again, route he has, up we go. We'll go for the tricky rock notch as well. Bonus points. Boom. And it's a positive reaction from the Cube. Binned it. Ah, what an idiot. Unfortunately, didn't get it on camera, but just had one of those exact little awkward, slightly too short tuck-ins that geometry like this can cause. But then it has got that tight turning, so as always it's a balance. Whew. I'm glad to have walked away from that one. On a climb too. Right, this is an absolute do or die number. Yes. And while that deal rear mech isn't quite as smooth a power shift as, you know, SRAM tree type, slipped. It still shifted when it needed to, so just the greasiness letting me down. Damn it. Yeah, it was fine. Just me, really. There we go. Let's see the difference. Oh.
No.
Confirmed kill on the same section.
I shifted up to 1.
Yeah.
And it is interesting.
Same as us.
One more.
One more. Whew. I need to get back for the guys from Enduro Bearings to come around to show me their tools, which is nowhere near as OnlyFans as it sounds. Yeah, then Ryan.
Me first?
Yeah, come on. Leave me humble. Hurting on the inside and the outside. Oh, crux move done. Yeah. Right. Let's get after it. Then we're close enough to blame him if we muck up. If we even get that far. Damn it. You see, I'm blaming him for shouting and putting me off. Which is really pathetic. Sounds horribly like victory. Come on, guys. Ride your own ride. Oh, that was just appalling. Come on. That's just nothing. You see, people say, how can I chat about bikes while I'm riding? So I wasn't chatting about bikes. I'd just be tearing myself apart like I am. Full time. Probably wouldn't even ride anymore. It's that toxic in my head. It turns out if I talk about myself or the bike, then get somewhere. Come on. I should have gone for the power, not the grab. Damn it. So near. Well, actually, no. Not even halfway up. Who am I kidding? Come on, guys. Regroup. There you go. 10 minutes of bike review. 10 minutes of anguish psychoanalysis. Maybe that's the new thing. Live ride therapy.
I didn't think you'd be able to.
It's an act of 2 parts.
I didn't think you'd be able to get past my massive ego as you got to the top.
Nice one, mate, as ever. So yeah, actual shifting performance, really, really well sorted. And it's 12 speed, and obviously DL, Qs, whatever you want to call it, comes in 10 or through 11 and 12, but this is your full 12 speed, and then we send, and that's fine. But if we wanted to stop, plenty of power in that 200mm 4-pot Dior brake up front. Although that short back end does mean it skitters around quite a lot at the back. Oh, and one final thing. Oh, get the seat down, Kez. come on. Tell I've been in exile for 2 weeks on a holiday. You're right there, mate. Just clipping the tree for laughs. So taking a while to get into it after being in exile. But good news is that unlike a lot of budget focus bikes, it comes in full extra small to extra large size ranges, and small and extra small get 27.5-inch wheels to keep the geo consistent and balanced, whereas medium to extra large it's 29ers for more roll. But again, not only is it hanging up more where I haven't got the skill to pop and pump, but also I really feel it like a proper squat session. So if you want to build up your downhill hams, like your climbing muscles, with a zero maintenance hardcore bike, then Hardtail basically builds the squat session into every bike rack, and over time it'll make you a much smoother rider as well. But as you can see, what's that? Don't even know, I thought it was a GoPro. Something trained up anyway. But as you can see, yet to happen with me. And yeah, one thing I should have said, in terms of overall feel, you know, she's definitely kind of mid-firm, this bike, I'd say. It's not brutally stiff, but it's certainly not forgiving and steel-like like that Merida Big Trail. So, just like the Geo, it's a balance rather than anything extreme in either direction. So there we go, folks. Cube Reaction TM Pro, a bike that might be a bit short on length, but it's absolutely not short on strength, grip, can-do attitude, and sorted kit. Plus, comes at a really good price from your local Cube dealer, so no worries about big supermarkets or online shopping. So massive thanks to Cube, as always, for sending the bike. I've got some more kit coming from them. I've got helmets, got bags, other gear. So yeah, looking forward to getting more kit incoming from Cube and Newman and people like that. Massive thanks to you guys for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already, notifications, thumbs up, like, super fan if you're feeling generous about this one, Patreon if you're feeling generous long term. But for now, I've been Guy Kesterman, GuyKest TV, Cube Reaction TM Pro. Hope you've enjoyed it. Anything else you want to know? Get busy in the comments. See you there.